Have you ever pondered the most common types of cyber attacks that are threatening our digital world? It's a question that's more relevant than ever in this day and age, where our lives are increasingly intertwined with the digital realm. Over the next few minutes, we'll be taking a deep dive into the 10 most common types of cyber attacks. These are the digital threats lurking in the shadows, waiting to exploit our vulnerabilities. From malware to denial-of-service attacks, from phishing to spoofing, we'll explore the ins and outs of these cyber threats. We'll also delve into identity-based attacks, code injection attacks, supply chain attacks, insider threats, DNS tunneling, and IoT-based attacks. Understanding these attacks isn't just important for cybersecurity professionals, it's vital for anyone who uses the internet. After all, knowledge is the first line of defense against these digital predators. So, are you ready to delve into the intricate world of cyber threats? Kicking off our countdown at number 10, we have malware. The term malware might sound like a character from a sci-fi movie, but it's actually a contraction of two words: malicious software. This is a type of software specifically designed to gain unauthorized access to or disrupt the operations of a computer system. Picture this: an uninvited guest who not only makes themselves at home, but also rummages through your private belongings. That's what malware does to your computer. It can manifest in various forms, including viruses, worms, trojans, and ransomware, each with its own unique method of wreaking havoc. Malware's main goal? To steal sensitive data like your credit card information or login credentials, which can then be sold on the dark web or used for further malicious activities. It's the cyber equivalent of a cat burglar, silently infiltrating and making off with your valuables. Now that we know about malware, let's move on to the next type of cyber attack. Coming in at number 3, we have denial of service or DOS attacks. Now imagine a bustling highway, then picture a sudden influx of cars, bringing traffic to a standstill. That's essentially what DOS attacks do in the digital world. They're all about overwhelming a system, network, or server with excessive requests, causing it to slow down or even crash completely. The key characteristic of DOS attacks is disruption. It's like a digital form of protest where the attacker floods a target with so much traffic that it can't cope, thereby denying service to legitimate users. It's not about stealing data or causing long-term damage, but rather about causing immediate disruption and inconvenience. Whether it's a website, an online service, or an entire network, DOS attacks can bring them to their knees, interrupting service and causing a significant headache for those responsible for getting things back on track. With DOS attacks covered, we venture into the next type of cyber threat. Next on our list at numbers 8 and 7, we have phishing and spoofing. Phishing is an attempt to trick you into giving out personal information, such as your bank account numbers, passwords, and credit card numbers. It often comes in the form of an email or a text message that looks like it's from a trusted source. Spoofing, on the other hand, is when a cybercriminal disguises themselves as a trusted entity. They might spoof an email address, a website, or even a network to mislead you into thinking you're interacting with a genuine party. Both phishing and spoofing rely on deception. They trick users into revealing sensitive information by pretending to be something they're not. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing lurking in your inbox or on your network, waiting for you to let your guard down. Phishing and spoofing can indeed be deceptive, but we must march on to our next category of cyber attacks. We're halfway through our countdown with identity-based attacks and code injection attacks at numbers 6 and 5. Now, identity-based attacks are crafty. They involve cybercriminals impersonating someone you trust to gain access to your personal information or infiltrate your systems. Imagine a wolf in sheep's clothing, only in this case, the wolf is after your digital life. On the other hand, code injection attacks are a bit more technical. Cybercriminals exploit a vulnerability in a system to inject malicious code. This code then runs as part of the application, allowing them to manipulate the system to their liking. It's a bit like finding a crack in a castle wall and sneaking in a Trojan horse. Both of these attacks exploit vulnerabilities either in our trust or in our systems and can lead to stolen identities or compromised systems. Identity theft and code injections may sound like something out of a spy movie, but they are all too real. Let's continue to our next types of attacks. As we move closer to the top at numbers 4 and 3, we have supply chain attacks and insider threats. Let's delve into these two stealthy yet dangerous cyber attacks. Supply chain attacks target the less secure elements of a network's supply chain. Often these are third-party providers or software vendors that have access to a company's network. The attacker infiltrates these weak points to gain access to the main network, potentially causing vast damage. Insider threats, on the other hand, come from within the organization. These threats may be intentional, where a disgruntled employee willingly breaches security, or unintentional, where an employee unknowingly provides access to attackers, often through phishing attempts. Either way, the damage can be substantial, as these attacks bypass external security measures. Both supply chain attacks and insider threats exploit trust and access, making them particularly insidious. They can compromise entire networks and systems from within, often going unnoticed until it's too late. Now that we've covered these insidious threats, we're ready to unveil the top 2 most common cyber attacks. Finally, at the top of our list, at numbers 2 and 1, we have DNS tunneling and IoT-based attacks. These are complex, sophisticated forms of cybercrime that represent some of the most significant threats in our increasingly connected world. Firstly, let's delve into DNS tunneling. DNS, or domain name system, is the Internet's phone book, translating human-friendly website names into machine-readable IP addresses. DNS tunneling is a technique where cybercriminals exploit this system to sneak malicious data through unnoticed. In essence, they create a tunnel within the normal data transfer process, allowing them to bypass security measures and infiltrate networks. This can lead to data exfiltration, malware distribution, or even remote control of systems. DNS tunneling is particularly dangerous due to its ability to bypass many traditional forms of cybersecurity, making it a potent weapon in the hands of a skilled hacker. Next, we have IoT-based attacks. The Internet of Things, or IoT, refers to the billions of physical devices around the world that are now connected to the Internet, collecting and sharing data. This includes everything from your smartphone to your refrigerator. While this interconnectivity brings about unprecedented convenience, it also presents a vast landscape for potential attacks. Cybercriminals can exploit vulnerabilities in these devices to gain unauthorized access, manipulate functionalities, or serve as a gateway to infiltrate larger networks. The sheer volume and diversity of IoT devices make them a lucrative target for cybercriminals, and the threats they pose are only projected to increase as our world becomes more connected. Both DNS tunneling and IoT-based attacks underscore the evolving nature of cyber threats. They highlight the need for continuous learning, vigilance, and adoption of advanced security measures. There you have it, the top 10 most common types of cyber attacks. Remember, knowledge is power, and in the digital age, it's your best defense. So, we've journeyed through the most common types of cyber attacks. It's quite a digital battlefield out there. We started our exploration with malware, the malicious software designed to harm or exploit any computing device or network. Then we moved on to denial-of-service attacks, which overwhelm systems, servers, or networks with traffic to exhaust resources and bandwidth, thereby preventing legitimate users from accessing the service. Next, we delved into the deceptive world of phishing and spoofing. Phishing involves attackers masquerading as trustworthy entities to steal sensitive data, while spoofing deceives systems or users by disguising the origin of communication or data. We then ventured into the realm of identity-based attacks and code injection attacks. Identity-based attacks exploit systems by assuming the identity of a trusted user, while code injection attacks involve the introduction of malicious code into an application or system. Our journey then took us to supply chain attacks and insider threats. Supply chain attacks compromise a system by targeting less secure elements in the network supply chain, while insider threats come from individuals within the organization who misuse their authorized access to cause harm. Finally, we examined DNS tunneling and IoT-based attacks. DNS tunneling utilizes the DNS protocol to encode the data of other programs or protocols in DNS queries and responses. while IoT-based attacks target the ever-growing number of devices connected to the Internet of Things. But what do all these threats mean for us? They highlight the importance of awareness and education. In this vast digital landscape, understanding these threats is our first line of defense. It's crucial to stay updated and educated about the evolving tactics and techniques of cyber attackers. By recognizing the signs of these attacks, we can take steps to protect ourselves and our networks. Whether it's implementing robust security measures, practicing safe online habits, or simply being more cautious with the information we share online, every action counts in the fight against cyber threats. Stay safe in the digital world, and remember, the first step to cybersecurity is understanding the threats. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the world of cyber attacks.